and welcome to another episode of This Is Our Year. I'm your host, Michael Kurland. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, Dougie Fresh. Dougie, how are you doing today? You're already drinking, so it must be a good day.
Oh no, I'm just ready. I'm ready to go, dude. Life is good, man. We just watched another sweep. Took care of the Reds. You know, maybe a little bit of a AAA team, but that's all right. The games still count.
Yep, you got to win the games that you're supposed to win, right?
That's right.
I like it.
So I figure I'm gonna take it out to San Diego this week. We got a Stone IPA.
I love it.
And I've been to the brewery. Shout out to all the great people in San Diego. And I feel like Stone was one of those micro brews before like it blew up. Like they've just been doing it for a long time, and they've been doing it well. So saw it in the store, thought I'd pick it up. Shout out to Stone.
I believe
I heard a rumor. Oh, go ahead.
Yes. Let's talk about the rumor in a second, but I do believe, just, knowledge for the audience. I believe San Diego used to be the microbrewery capital of the world. I believe Denver has overtaken them. But yes, back in the day, sure. So Stone, like I go to San Diego often because I live about an hour away, and I'll always go see the Mets when I play the Padres because Petco is my favorite park in all of the parks I've ever been to. And you get off the train, the Amtrak, it's called the Surfliner. And you literally take the train right down the Pacific coast, looking at the ocean the entire time. And then you get into San Diego. You've done it, right? You get into San Diego and you stop at the San Diego train station downtown. And if you go keep going south towards the ballpark, that's the gas lamp, which is where all the bars and restaurants are. But if you go a little north is where the Stone tasting room is. And that used to be that was always the first stop. It was Stone and then downtown, right? So
yeah, that place is legit. Like breweries up here are all like the back end of a warehouse or something. No, that you're walking into like a castle or something, if I remember correctly. So
the tasting room is not a castle. The tasting room is just a little room with games, and it's not the back of a brewery either. It's nice, but yes.
I don't know. I was taken somewhere, but they're good memories in San Diego. And is it true? Are you going to crack one this week, man? Are you going to join me?
So, yes. I don't drink beer very often, but we have some guests today, and they made a very good point. They said, "What's one beer going to hurt?" And I said, "That's a great point." So I went to the only beer I have in the fridge, which is Fat Tire, because my mom's boyfriend drinks it. And I'm going to join you today and have one. I'll have one. He going to do one, if you remember that.
Going to do one.
So, Dougie, we got some guests today. Let's introduce these gentlemen.
Well, hold on. Actually, if they're drinking too, let's get them. Let's get them on.
So, Scott and Greg, welcome to the show. Gentlemen, now how do you pronounce your last name? I don't want to butcher it.
DeCecco.
Okay, Scott and Greg DeCecco, welcome to the show. Cheers.
Yeah,
let's go.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, brothers.
Now we're drinking a local beer out of New Jersey, here in South Jersey, called Slack Tide. It's, nice. If you guys ever get up this way, let us know, and we'll give you all the spots for all the good breweries down here.
Nice.
So how far south are you? Are you almost Philly, or are you kind of in the middle?
Yeah, we're in Cape May County, which is essentially as far as you can go in New Jersey.
So you're the overhanging a little bit close to Delaware thing type area?
Yeah, exactly.
Do I have that right? Perfect. Exactly. Very nice. So Scott, Greg, tell the audience who you are and why you're here and why you wanted to be on the show. Let's talk about that.
Go ahead,
Well, first off, we're both huge Mets fans. Grew up in Philly area, which is even better being a Mets fan down here. We just like to talk baseball. Love everything about baseball.
Yeah,
and
we so our grandfather was born and raised in Brooklyn back in the 20s. Him and my grandmother, and then when the Mets, I guess when the Dodgers moved out west, you're not going to root for the Yankees at the time, right? So they just by pure location, they started rooting for the Mets, and they moved down to Wildwood, New Jersey, and then that's kind of where they started the family. And just growing up in a baseball family and just watching Mets games. And we all have fond memories of being at a grandparents' house. And my grandfather actually just passed away this year, so we think he's the reason for all the success because he watched literally every single game. So we think he's out there, the angel in the outfield, as the saying goes, and we're going to say a lot of the success is on him.
I love it. So gents, what's it like being Mets fans in Philly country? Because I mean, I can tell. I don't know if you've listened to like past episodes, but Doug and I used to live in Connecticut. That's where I grew up. My father was also a Brooklyn Dodger fan, and he could never root for the Yankees either when the Dodgers left. So that's how we became a Mets family, and so similar background on that. But I hate a lot of teams. I don't hate any team more than I hate the New York Rangers. But if we're talking about baseball specifically, I believe the order probably goes Phillies, Yankees, Braves. It's somewhere in that hemisphere. So
I got a small problem with that, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, who else, Dougie? Are the Yankees above the
Oh,
Phillies?
I got to put Atlanta. I got to put Atlanta over
with
the
you, Doug.
Yankees, honestly.
Fine. Then we can say Phillies, Braves, Yankees. It's in that hemisphere. Those are the top three, right?
Right.
So how's it like growing up in Phillies country? And on top of growing up in Phillies country, the Phillies fans are the most insufferable asshole fans there are in the country. So having to be a Mets fan in that atmosphere growing up, let's talk about that.
Listen, I love it. I love it because they talk shit all the time. And yeah, I mean, we've had our downfalls, whatever. But they talk shit all the time. They're still talking shit now that they're on this little streak that they think. But that's the big thing. I'll tell you a story about how terrible their fans are. We went and tailgated. It wasn't even a Mets-Phillies game. One of my buddies, I was in the Navy. One of my buddies is from Philly. We go tailgate with him. We both wear our Mets stuff. We went to go to the porta potty as we're tailgating. They're throwing beer at us, spitting at us. But at that point, I think the Mets were like 15 games behind them. This was years ago.
Might have been 2000.
I don't even think he was old enough to drink yet.
Right.
And
Wow.
but it's
I mean,
great, especially with our dad. He's a big Phillies fan.
Oh, so he grew up and bucked the Mets trend, and then you said, "Dad, I'm going to go back with Grandpa, and I'm going to be a Mets fan."
Yeah,
Smart.
Well, he was never really a big baseball fan. Compared to us, he was more of the football and hockey. But once 2000. I guess let's just say 7. Let's throw that number out there. Once that happened, and they obviously won in 2008, it's been insufferable since. Because Philly fans, they just feel super entitled based on just winning this decade, whereas Mets haven't. And obviously, being around Phillies fans all the time, they just revert back to 1986. Every single time you have an argument with them, and honestly, the joke's old at this point. The Phillies have the longest drought in the NL and being in the playoffs, and we win. I win arguments 10 times out of 10, so it's easy. But they just go back to that same argument, and they're just stuck on it. That's how they are.
What's their argument that they are the last team to win between the two of us the World Series?
Yeah,
right.
Essentially,
exactly.
I mean that excuse me, those Rollins and Utley teams that must have been a nightmare for you guys. I actually, sports aside, I love Philly. I had some great friends down there. They're all friggin' maniacs, as you guys know. Like that the whole city's out of control, right? Mike and I don't think we ever rolled into any Philly stadium with New York gear.
Yeah, I think we had a lesson.
I
we had a
know
lesson
you
learned.
Military background.
I'm going on the 19th.
Yeah.
I'm going on the 19th
Nice.
in Mets gear.
I like it. You're a brave man.
Hell yeah. I just roll deep, I hope.
We're actually going with a bunch of Philly fans, so
something.
All right.
Yeah.
They'll provide some cover, but yeah, you're getting stuff tossed to you, right?
The good thing is we'll still be in first place at the time. There's not much they can really say.
No. I mean, I'm sure they will.
That's right, and yeah, they're going to try. And we pronounced them dead and buried a couple of months ago here when they were playing like shit. I think that was before Girardi got fired. So you guys are right. This weekend it's time to take care of business again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
kind of like we did with Atlanta last
Exactly.
weekend.
Yeah, and I had
Good
the
shot.
same thing. I had the same thought going into that Brave series. It's this team's really hot. They're really good, but the Braves are also good, and the Phillies are playing well, and they are a good team. Let's call it what it is. But after that Brave series, I have so much confidence going into this. Just being a Mets fan and how my entire life's been, sure, they could probably get swept. There's definitely a doubt in my mind that's like, they may get swept,
Right.
but at the same time, we have Scherzer, DeGrom, and then Bassett going against their top
Yeah.
guns. So, I really
Maybe they
feel
arrest
like
for
the
the
Mets will
bullpen.
win the series because they won every NL East series they've played this year. There's no reason to think that they're just going to all of a sudden stop, especially at home.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we've lost 3 games since the All-Star break. Is that accurate? 4 games since the All-Star
San
break.
Diego won
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yep. So I think we're the hottest team in the NL right now, if I am accurate with that. And
I mean, it's also the Dodgers. They've gone like 31-5 or something lately. like they're stupid too.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that actually leads to my next question. Is this the best? Because you guys are younger than us. Is this either the best team and or your favorite Mets team you've ever seen, or is it too early to ask that question?
Yeah, I mean, I had this conversation last night with my father-in-law, who's a big Phillies fan. I think it's too early to tell. I'm 30 years old. I was born in 1991, so I obviously missed 1986. But that 2006 team, I remember that team and how dominant they were the whole season. I think this team, it has a lot of resemblance to them, and maybe even the 86 team of just like all the documentaries I've watched them. But the pitching that this team has is definitely the best that I've ever seen in my life. Just having Scherzer. And I was having this conversation with a buddy of mine the other night. We used to just have to watch Scherzer go 8 innings, 1 run against us, and now he's on our team, and it's crazy to think him paired with DeGrom. It's like I just no way anybody's going to beat us in the playoffs. There's just no way with those 2 guys going back to back if they stay healthy.
So we had a big. I'd like to get your guys' take on this because we had a big episode last week on the trade deadline, and Doug was pretty even keeled, but I lost my shit that we didn't add. As usual, we didn't add a big bat, and we didn't add a lefty reliever. And so far, I mean, the Mets are making me eat my words, but the reason why I was so emphatic about it was that this is probably the best team I've seen since 2015 and 06, right? I mean, those are the three teams in the last 15 years that you can revert back to, 16 years that you can revert back to and say these were our only good teams, right? And I think we are the best team out of those 3 currently, as you just stated. And I feel like with Scherzer turning 38 a month ago and DeGrom not being healthy for the last 2 years for more than 100 innings or less, why wouldn't we go for it? It was really frustrating to me that Epler wanted to talk about 2026's World Series chances, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about 2026.
Right.
I want to win in 2022. And if getting Contreras and getting Chafin or whoever those fill in the name was to make us even better than we already are, I was willing to give up the prospect to do that.
Yep.
How do you guys feel about that? Do you feel like we did the right thing by staying a little bit more on the fringes and pat, or do you think we should have gone more all in?
I just my thing was, how do I think is, I think I wanted something big. I wanted something big too. And I kept texting him. He's like, just relax. Something's coming. I'm like, dude, what's going to come? Like, we need the lefty reliever. I like the pickups that we got, but the reliever was my thing. I kept telling him, like, we need it. And, but at the same time, I also heard that the owners didn't want to deal with Cohen. They didn't want to trade, and then they wanted our top 5 prospects. We can't get rid of all of them. Then we're going to be like San Diego. San Diego, it's either this year or no year for them. That's how I think.
Yeah, I was a little more even keeled. I think this is a really good team, and sure, there's a glaring hole with the lefty bullpen. Although Joely Rodriguez has actually been pitching pretty well as of late. The whole pitching staff has been incredible. there's clearly a glaring hole in the left-hand reliever, and if you have to face Soto or Bryce Harper in the playoffs, like who's going to get the job done? Do you have confidence in Joely Rodriguez right now? Probably not. But it was more frustrating to me to see the Phillies go and get Robertson, and they gave up their 27th best prospect, and it's just it was something's clearly off there, and if that means, like as Greg just said, like our owners kind of given the Cohen tax per se on trades, I think that'll just honestly entice Cohen to spend even more on free agents at the end of the year. It's, hey, if you guys don't want to trade with me in the middle of the season, I'm just going to buy a whole team. But like I said, this team's really good, and they have guys. They haven't had an issue really all year with lefties. But yeah, in the playoffs, it's a little bit more magnified, and there could be an issue. But as of right now, I think what they did with Vogelbach and Roth, and they have that DH platoon. Just look at the difference between those two guys versus what we were getting out of J.D. Davis and Dom Smith. I mean, the numbers from those guys it was essentially like a James McCann. It was a pitcher hitting in those spots. Now we have big league hitters who are now protecting Pete Alonso, although he hasn't really done much recently. He was really hot, but you have professional hitters, whereas like J.D. Davis is swinging and missing fastballs right down the middle of the plate. It's just, I think what they did is they really made depth for the whole team, and it's clearly paying off. Up to this point, I think they've only lost one game since the deadline, and obviously it'll come down to the playoffs, and if that lefty reliever or whoever can get through the 8th or 9th inning, or 8th inning, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I do think that instead of Robertson, I do think Givens was our target, which to me doesn't make sense, but I think Buck was comfortable with him, and that's why we also gave up nothing for Givens, right? I mean, the kid has Saul Rodriguez was the kid's name. I think he's got some upside in like 6 years or something, but he was not even in our top 30 prospects. So I just feel maybe that was what happened there. Instead of getting Robertson, we just pivoted to Givens because Buck's familiar with him, and I like a junk ball righty. Kind of, I don't know if he's a submariner or 3/4 or what you would call his delivery, but he brings a little something different to the pen. So I guess they figured Trevor May coming back who can be your 8th inning guy, and then Robertson would be somewhat redundant, right? So how do you guys feel like going forward? What's your thoughts? Do you really think that this is the year we got a chance to win it all? Do you think we're going to go deep in the play? Like, give us your predictions.
I'm 100%. That's my prediction. World Series.
Hell yeah, brother. And actually, like, you kind of stole my thunder there on that Robertson point, which is a great point. That was annoying. And the reason why, for me, it was kind of annoying was that I really hadn't been tracking the Phillies. Like, I did admittedly kind of dismiss them, but obviously you turn around and they've been playing really well. I don't know if you guys are watching more Phillies games than we are because you're just down there. Can you give us a little scouting report on like why they're playing better coming into this weekend?
Believe it or not, they're as much as how bad their bullpen's been the last 5 years, their bullpen's actually, look up their numbers, it's top in the NL. The bullpen's pitching well. They're getting depth out of their starters, and they just added Syndergaard. That'll be interesting, although it seems like they're trying to avoid him to play against the Mets. Although I think the second series next weekend, I think he'll line up at some point against them that weekend. But right now, going into the season, everyone said this offense is either boom or not, and right now they're booming, and they don't even have Harper back, and so that lineup is really deep, and they have a lot of good hitters. Bohm is playing really well. Real Muto's on fire. Hoskins had hit 4 home runs in a row in back-to-back games, except for last night. But so they're getting scoring runs, and they're preventing runs. So obviously that's a winning formula. And I think this weekend's going to be really fun. It could be either 10-11 games or 1-0 games. It really go either way.
Seriously, like with all the pitching, right? Like Aaron Nola's turned it on. God damn it! I miss Zach Wheeler still. I'm still angry about that.
Me too.
We all are.
3 years later, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. Oh God, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, what do you guys think about that? And this to Mike too. What do you guys think about that Keith quote? I love how he's been poking at Philly, man.
Yeah.
He is the best.
I love that.
Mike, did you?
I don't know if you can see my shirt, but I wore this for Keith today. And did you guys see the quote?
Oh yeah,
I did.
Yep.
And
I
so
thought it was hilarious.
So let's talk about. Do you have the quote up, Dougie? Can you read it?
Yeah. I only have a piece of it, but as far as fundamentally and defensively, the Phillies have always been just not up to it.
Yeah. Which I don't really pay attention to Phillies Twitter, but it sent Phillies Twitter into shambles.
Yes.
And I guess the whole city is up in arms about Keith talking a little shit about how bad they are. So you're there. Talk about what you've heard and seen, because I think it's hilarious, and I'm so happy that Keith is my favorite all-time player, and we can talk about that in a second. But the fact that Keith, as our one of our color commentators and one of the better broadcasters in baseball, is fucking taking shots at one of our biggest rivals on air. Like, nobody does that. So only Keith could do something like that and not give a fuck. Like, he gives zero fucks. So talk about how you guys are seeing it from your end.
Have you talked to
him? So my father-in-law, I was with him last night. We were watching the Phillies game. I was had the Mets game on my cell phone, and I had told it to him sitting next to me before they put it up on SNY, or before they put it. Actually, they showed it on the Phillies network, and I told him that, and he went nuts. My father-in-law is one of the nicest people in the world, and he went off the rails. Like, he had a personal vendetta against Keith Hernandez, and I just kept throwing wood into the fire. I'm like, let's go. And we started getting deep into, is he a Hall of Famer? Is he not? I'm like, just relax, because at one point I thought he was ready to hit me. I'm like, because I was just egging him on, and it was great. But no, like you said, Philly.
And that's some true Philly shit, by the way.
Yeah.
I punched my son in the face.
Philly's Twitter, they're losing their minds over it. That's why, honestly, I didn't like that quote, to be honest with you, because they are playing well, and it can easily come back to backfire. And I'm sitting here in Phillies land, and I have to listen to that shit if everything goes wrong this weekend. So I wish Keith would have just kept his mouth shut, but he's a firecracker, and you can't contain him at some point. But he's, like you said, he's the best in the business, and I love it.
Awesome. I love it.
I'll give you guys another quote then. This time from Spencer Strider, rookie pitcher for Atlanta. I don't know if you guys saw this one, but I don't know. Or he was asked why the Mets are so good at grinding out at bats. I don't know. It helps when they're getting calls on 1-1 counts. Sorry, just scrolled away, and turns into 2-1 counts instead of 1-2. And then your BABIP is 330, 340, blah blah blah. So butthurt, right? like all of Atlanta after this weekend. It's, God damn it, this season's been.
I got good friends that are Atlanta fans, and they won't. I tried talking shit to them, and they won't even respond.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't. They just got whooped.
Yeah.
Whooped. Yeah. I mean, you can't. There's nothing to say.
Culminating in Jake's performance.
What's that?
On Sunday. Culminating in Jake's unhittable performance on Sunday, which was maybe one of the best starts I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, his slider was unhittable.
Not
kidding. So did you guys see that Steve Cohen, Uncle Stevie, I see your shirt over there, Greg. Did you see that he came out after Strider's comment and then went right back at him on Twitter?
I love it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, look it up, Doug. I don't have it in front of me, but he responded directly to Strider, basically saying, like, if you just played the game and won, we wouldn't have to have hurt feelings or some shit like that.
It's just funny because I don't think Strider was even on the playoff roster last year, right? So
he's come out of nowhere this year.
Yeah, he's good. Don't get me wrong. He's a good pitcher, and he's having a really good year. And it's a really bad thing to say as a professional, to be honest with you, because you just look like just a sore loser at that point. Just say, hey, they're a good team. They grind out at bats, and that's what they do. Like, sure, you can say like they're lucky, whatever. But you know what? This team, like, they have the least strikeouts in the league. They're not striking out. They're not swinging at junk. That's umpires, like, when they know that stuff, they always get the benefit of the doubt. They're just they know how to execute. And I think it all goes back to Chavez isn't getting enough credit this year, the hitting coach. Everyone's talking about Hefner and obviously the pitching staff, but Eric Chavez I think the approach is just completely different than last year, and you can just see it right away, and I think it frustrates pitchers. It has to, because pitchers can't even get through like 6 innings. I think they've chased a starter in the last like 10 games in like before the fifth inning. It's like
fifth inning is done.
just think about what that does to a team's
Absolutely
bullpen.
right. Yep, you get into the underbelly, right?
That's their game plan, and it's so good to see. To your point, Chavez has been the low key MVP, right? He's got them with a plan. They're not just going up there and swinging for the fences like every other team in baseball right now. It's either a home run or strikeout. They try to put the ball in play. You can see the consistency because they, like you just alluded to, they don't have many strikeouts as a team. And you go back to last year where that was the complete opposite of that, right? And then before that it was Chili Davis and his antiquated approach to, which I think it's similar to what Chavez is preaching, but he didn't believe in launch angle and he didn't believe in analytics, right? I think there's something to be said about launch angle and analytics and the approach that Chavez is all melding together, because we are now forward thinking with analytics now that the Wilpons are finally gone and we put some money into an analytic department, right? So what other things we want to talk about, Dougie?
Oh, I got more questions.
Fire away.
Scott, you played a little pro ball, right?
That's right. Yeah, I got drafted in 2012 by the Seattle Mariners in the 21st round, and ended up retiring in 2015. So yeah, played a couple years of pro ball.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any connections to this Mets team?
Let's see.
Or do you remember like facing them? You probably didn't play.
Yeah, actually,
with them, I'm guessing. But.
I got a funny story with Daniel Vogelbach. Actually, now that he's with the Mets. So it was in my first year in 2012, and we were in short season. He was with the Cubs at the time. We were playing in Boise. That's where the short season was. And actually, another funny story is when I got drafted, I got sent to Everett, Washington with the Aqua Sox. And Greg, who was at the Navy, was stationed in Everett at the time. So I got lucky to somehow get drafted by the team and get assigned to where he lived. So it was it's crazy. But back to the Vogie story. So I was it was the first inning. I was a starter, left-handed starter, and I think I had been. I think they scored a home run, maybe first or second hitter, and Vogie was up maybe with a runner on or something like that. I can't remember the exact scenario, but I had thought it was a 2-2 count. I thought I threw a strike three, literally right down the middle, and I still remember the pitch to like today. Umpire called it a ball, obviously. Next pitch, he hit a double into left center gap, and I was backing up home plate, and I walked past the umpire and I said, "That one's on you, Blue." And he tossed me right there. It was the only time I got ejected. And I blamed it on Vogie because he got the best of me. I don't know if he was talking to the umpire or what, but the umpire's name was Mossy. I remember it to this day, and it's funny.
It's burned in there.
Huh? Oh yeah, yeah. So I got tossed.
Was Daniel?
Got tossed and got a fine. It was a small fine, but it was well worth it, I think.
Oh wow. Was Daniel as spherical as he is these days?
Actually, he was a little more slimmed down when he was in his younger days. So he got drafted out of high school, and I think at that point he had been in professional baseball for a year or so. So he was about 19 years old. He was a chunky boy, but he's a bowling ball right now. I love it. He's like a Bartolo Colon. You need a guy like that on the team. Yeah, great clubhouse guy.
You do like. That's a great connection to the 2015 team. Like we're seeing that same kind of magic right now. And this team's a lot better in my opinion.
And I also played with connections with Taiwan Walker. He came from Seattle. We played together in Instructs, and then great. I used to live in Raleigh, North Carolina. Chris Bassett, he lives down there, and we worked out one off season together. So. I'm definitely familiar with a couple guys on the team, and it's cool to see them all back on, the team that you root for and succeeding,
That's awesome. And so, we just went through the trade deadline. Do you have any insights? Did you yourself ever have any, trepidation during that time of year? Was that what's that like being on that side of the field?
I was never considered a prospect, so the conversation never was about me. But, Seattle during those days, there was like a period where they made a lot of trades, and it was right before they got their new GM DePoto, and so they were trying to change a couple things about their big leagues. Obviously, they haven't made the playoffs in a really long time, and every time the deadline came around, it's talked about and rumors are talked about. You have insiders trying to tweet you and DM you to see if you hear anything. Most of these players don't hear that they're traded by the team before they even see it on like Twitter or social media. So there were no insights. The only people that know what's going down in the trade are the GMs and the front office. And but if you worry about this stuff when you're playing, you're just going to get all out of whack. And you can see it with some players leading up to the deadline. If they're around rumors, they don't play really well just because their head's not really in the game. They're thinking outside of things they can't control.
Yeah, I bet. So you didn't overlap with Sugar Diaz then?
I actually did play with him as well. we were starters.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
we were on the same. Actually, I think from low A all the way up to double A, we were on the same team together. Yeah, and he was a starter. He was a starter up until they called him up to the big leagues in Seattle and they moved him to the bullpen.
Oh, so then you just answered my next question. He didn't have the entrance music back then.
No, he did not. But he's still as animated as he is now. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Nice. So one other question, kind of off topic, and thanks for sharing with us. All the stuff that's been going on with the minor league baseball, like housing situations and quality of life. Can you speak to that at all? I mean, I used to work for the Carolina League Lynchburg Hillcats back in 2001, and I got to see firsthand from an intern's point of view, which is not really that great, but you lived it. So, what can you tell us about how it was?
It's as bad as it sounds, honestly, when you're in the minor leagues. And like I said, I wasn't a prospect. I didn't sign for a lot of money, like signing bonus. So I was essentially just living paycheck to paycheck. And at the time, the paychecks were maybe $400 every 2 weeks. That was what you get after tax, everything. So you're really making $800 a month. And that's just for the season, right? You don't get paid at all in the off season. So it's true. I lived in apartments, 2-3 bedroom apartments with like up to 6, 7, 8 guys from all over the country. And it's as bad as it sounds. From everything I've read though, and recently it's getting a lot better. And I think there's a lot of pressure put on Cohen, I think it was last year, to improve the situation in the minor leagues before all the, everything went down with, the lockout this year. So it's good to see things progressing because, it's really difficult to be a professional athlete when you're eating gummy bears in between games. Like it's just impossible to take care of your body and put yourself in a position. Whereas like the guys who sign for big bonuses, they have the resources to, better themselves in the off season and have a better situation in season. So, it's definitely brutal. And then you have the bus rides and, it's just a grind. It's really a grind. And at the end of the day, that's the reason why I retired was because, I got released by the Mariners and I said, this just isn't worth it for me. It's just not fun. It's not a game anymore. And, I just didn't enjoy going through that stuff. And, unfortunately, that's how a lot of players' careers end because they just can't go through it anymore.
Yeah.
It sucks because you think they would want to invest, in the future.
Right.
Like this is a business, right?
Exactly.
Well, I think consolidating the minor leagues was probably a good step because you had to have so many bodies to fill out these rosters, and then how do you supply for all those bodies? Right. Or you could, right? And to your point, when I was with Lynchburg, I mean, they did the clubhouse spread, and we would help set that up, and it was literally peanut butter, jelly, and fluff, and like 2 loaves of Wonder Bread, and this is all these and like fruit, right? Like some bananas, and that's all these guys would eat for the day, some of them, right? And it's just crazy. And then to your point, like these bus rides are fucking grueling. You're on 8-hour bus rides sometimes going to your next stop, and you got to get there. Like there's your schedules, maybe there's one off day here and there, but it's very similar to the major league schedule. So, thanks for shedding a little light on that, and sorry that you had to deal with that. Cause
at the end of the day, I can always look back and say I was a professional baseball player, right? And it was obviously a goal and dream of mine to get to the big leagues, and unfortunately it didn't work out. But I can tell my kids, hey, like if you really put your mind to something and have goals in life, like you can absolutely do something if you really work hard for it. And that's how I got to the position I was. I worked hard and worked my ass off, and it ended up. It didn't end up in the area in the big leagues, but it was a fun ride for me.
Sure. So let's pivot now. We were talking about it a little bit before. Greg, start with you. Favorite all-time Met and why?
I would say Mike Piazza.
You kind of look like him. I'm not gonna lie.
I was always a catcher growing up, and just when I was younger, he was. I liked him before he was even a Met, you know. But just the way how well of a player, how great of a player he is. I don't know him as a person, obviously. He has a story about him. But,
Yeah.
But other than that, like just watching him play when we were younger, and my mom was always, that was her favorite player. So I guess I just
Gravitated.
He was
Nice.
a good player.
I like it.
Player.
I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with Piazza. He was amazing. So what's the story, Scott? What's the story?
Well, so before one of the World Baseball Classics, I think it might have been 2014. I can't remember exactly the year, but I went down to spring training out in Peoria, Arizona, and just so happened that Team Italy was training there at the time, and it was early spring training. It was just big leaguers. The minor leagues weren't there, but I was there working out early, and I'm sitting there in the bathroom in the minor league clubhouse. I'm taking a piss, and I look over to my left, and there's Mike Piazza. I'm like, what the hell is happening to me? So he's literally the next stall next to me. There's a full row of like 15, 20 stalls, and he picks the one literally right next to me. So I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get this guy's autograph, because I knew he was my mom's favorite player. So literally he washes his hands, he gets out there. I'm sitting there waiting for him like a little kid. I was like, hey Mike, can I get your autograph? He's like, you couldn't fucking ask me like when I was out at the field or something. He was kind of a dickhead about it, but it was funny, and I was like, whatever, man. I got the autograph and got a funny story out of it. And my mom still has the ball today, so.
Well, what they said about Mike and Sam Champion back in the day,
Right.
So maybe that's why he was creeping up on you in the stall.
They're
there.
I didn't think about that at the time.
So funny. I'll go back to a little Piazza myself. It's not direct, but it's kind of direct. So I grew up in Norwalk, Connecticut. Doug lives in Stamford, Connecticut now. You guys know that's where Bobby V is from, right? So back in what year did we trade for Piazza? 97, 98? 98. I was working at the Norwalk Public Beach, and it was like a Monday night or something. It was like a Sunday night, something real slow night. It's just me by myself. I'm at the shack, just letting people in, charging them to come in. Some guy pulls up in a white Chevy Malibu, tinted out, rolls down the window, and he's like, "Do you know where the Knights of Columbus was?" And I look in, and he's got a fucking Mets polo on, and it's Bobby Valentine. And it was literally the week after they traded for Piazza, and I was like, I said, "Holy shit, you're Bobby V." And he's like, "Yes, I am." I said, "Can I have your autograph?" He said, "Yes." And I said, "What do you think about Mike Piazza?" And he was like, "I think it's great, kid. Where's the Knights of Columbus?" Right down the street over here.
Yeah.
So that's my Mike Piazza Bobby V story. Oh man.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
Everybody's got a Bobby V story up here in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Especially here in Stamford. I've talked to him a couple of times just randomly. But yeah, he has a chain of restaurants, and he opened a new location a few years ago, and I work from home, so like I have to get outside during the day, and so I walked down, checked the place out just by myself. So I took a seat at the bar, ordered some wings, and I get a tap on the shoulder. I look over, and it's Bobby V, and he's like, "How you doing, man?" And there's no way he recognized me, but that's Bobby V, right? He's like the mayor. In fact, he just tried to run for mayor, unfortunately, didn't win. But I was like, "Place looks great, Bobby." Like what else do you say to that question, right?
Right.
And the place did, by the way. But he's just the man. He's man about town. Did you have any like coaches or Scott, obviously, or Greg? Is that kind of like standard, or do you have to play for assholes too? What's it like on the pro level?
Yeah, every manager I had was a good guy. Especially in the minor leagues, they're trying to get to the big leagues, so they're trying to do everything they can for their players and stick up for them. I didn't have any stories of like a Buck walking around naked, that kind of thing, of how he got his nickname. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that, of how he got his nickname, but I didn't see any of those managers around. I don't think there's any current managers today, but who managed me in the minor leagues. A couple hitting coaches actually, but everybody's a good guy and good person in the minor leagues. Everyone understands the grind, so Yeah, Bobby V. I've heard great stories about him as well. He's just a humble guy, and that's cool to see and hear.
Well, let's hear that
Favorite
Showalter
Met?
story because I don't know that Showalter story. Let's
Well,
tell the
I
audience
don't know
that
the
one.
full story, but I think how he got his name was because he would literally just walk around the clubhouse buck naked, and I don't even know his. That's obviously not his first name. I think they were like, let's just call him Buck. So I think when he was beginning, I think it might have been with the Yankees at the time, back in the '80s or '90s, where he got the
Yeah, he was like a Yankee lifer.
yeah.
Miners.
You got to look it up.
I have no idea what his first name is now
No.
that you've just said
It's
that.
not Buck,
Now
though.
I'm like, what's? Yeah, it's definitely not Buck. So yeah, Scott, who is your favorite Met and why?
Yeah, I think the easy one is David Wright, just growing up in that day and age. But honestly, I loved Al Leiter for some reason, just being a left-handed pitcher and
Just from your neck of the woods too, right? You're kind of close.
Pride of Tom's River.
Yeah. So once I found that out, I was like a kid. I was like, oh, I love this guy, and he was pretty successful with the Mets. He didn't play as long as you would hope. He played for the Yankees and all, but I like Al Leiter a good bit. Obviously Jacob deGrom. I mean, everybody, like, if you don't like Jacob deGrom, then you're crazy. So yeah.
Nice. I like it. Any more questions, Dougie?
I answer that question differently every time, by the way. I just want to give out, just randomly, I want to give a shout out to John Olerud.
Love John Olerud.
Just one of the sweetest swings I've ever seen, and a hell of a fielder too.
And the helmet at first.
And the helmet, of course. Right.
The pride of
and I love that story about Ricky Henderson not like really recognizing him on the Mariners, I think, because they had both played for the Mets, and he asked him again why he wore the helmet. I love Ricky Henderson too, by the way.
Yeah, I think Ricky Henderson only thought about one person, that was himself. But one of the best to do it. So
Ricky's gonna.
I mean, when you refer to yourself in the third person when you're talking, you probably only care about yourself.
Exactly.
But he was definitely the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. Yeah. Yes, definitely. So we've shared some good stories. We've shared our favorites. We've shared our predictions. Gents, it's been awesome having you guys on the show today.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you have anything else for us? Anything you guys that we didn't? Any topics we didn't get to? Anything we missed?
I got a bet right now with my father-in-law. He thinks the Mets won't win 97 games. I got $200 riding on it. I might up that to 100. I feel really confident. I think they might even 105. Shit, I'll go 105. I'm gonna go the bet to another.
You're on pace.
Yeah, we're definitely on pace. But just word to the wise: don't increase.
Well, yeah, that's right.
The amount of win that doesn't help. It's not going to help you anyway. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I think
Fangraphs has the Mets, I think, finishing at 104, and they actually have the highest odds to win the World Series right now. Although I don't trust those analytics and odds right now. Just win day to day, and I think Buck's got them in the right mindset to just win every single day. That's all that matters. Don't worry about that outside noise.
Yeah, we're 0.1% higher than the Dodgers right now. But I will say, if I had to pick, well, this is a good question. If you had to pick an MVP, who would it be for this season so far?
There you go. Mine's Pete. I mean, Pete's he's on a tear. I mean, leading the league in RBI, or leading that all in RBI, almost 30 home runs. He's hitting for a high average. He's doing things that he needs to do to like be a successful hitter, and he's evolved so much from like when he first came up and just like smashing home runs. Now he's just like a complete hitter, and he's playing really good defense. Like, I think he should actually get MVP votes. Although at the end of the day, though, now I'm thinking about it, Edwin Diaz is my MVP. Like, just the things that he went through to get to this point in this season, it's like he's literally we have the best closer in the game, and a lot of fans are like coming around on it. It's like, yeah, this guy is nasty, and the opposing hitters are like, I can't hit this guy. I just can't do it. So,
yep, he should get Cy Young Award votes for sure.
100%.
I agree.
100%.
Yeah, Greg, who's yours?
Yeah.
What do you think? You might have answered it, but
Yeah, I mean, I gotta stick with Pete, but there's so many so many players that are playing so well. But Pete is our number one. I mean, all of us.
probably.
Come on now, Lindor's even playing well. He's come along. I mean,
I was going to say Frankie. The way he's come on since July.
I'm loving it.
Like speaking of, yeah, dude. Like speaking of like adjusting to New York, right? Like it's always a rough first year.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
Beltran had the same issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was probably the best center fielder we've ever had in the history of the team. But if you look back at his first year, it was very underwhelming, and it was a total adjustment period.
Yeah.
Right. And people still don't forget about that because it was such a bad. It wasn't a bad first year, but it was a underwhelming first year for the contract that he had and the expectations at the time, right? So, but every year after that, he was. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, I mean, put the drum beating aside, he's a Hall of Famer.
Exactly.
So I think Frankie's the same way. He is going to set Mets records at shortstop this year. And Dougie was not as big of a proponent of him in the beginning of the year, but he's come around on it.
I said that he sucked ass in June, and I have the numbers to prove it.
Well, he had a broken finger.
He
had a broken finger, and I think he's fully healed.
But a lot of people weren't big fans of him, even at the beginning of the year.
Well, he didn't play well last year, like you said, to his contract.
I mean,
that's a lot of pressure.
My boss is the only other Met fan that I work with, and he was like, "Oh, we paid him 2 months," and I'm like, "Watch, just let him get adjusted. Relax, let him get adjusted." And what happened? And now he comes to me, he's like, "Oh, he didn't like Diaz either," and I'm like, "Watch, wait till Diaz." I'm like, he's.
I think everybody right now is playing up to their contract. I think like Scherzer is worth every single penny that he's getting paid right now. I mean, just the fact that he's just dominating at 30. What is he, 38 now? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Dominated de facto, and he's a de facto pitching coach. Hefner is great, and he's great with the analytics and relaying the stuff to the team. But Scherzer's the guy. I mean, Hefner pitched a handful of games for the Mets and a couple, maybe the Twins. Scherzer's the guy. I mean, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer right there. When that guy talks, you're gonna listen.
My favorite part about Scherzer is immediately after his outing, he throws in this biggest dip of his life. It's just like he's talking to Heffler. He's still like adrenaline. He's just walking up and down, and just lip is just like it's hilarious. I love.
And it's flying out in everyone's
face.
Like,
all right, buddy, like calm down a little bit. But he's just pumped up on adrenaline. That's who he is, and I love it. Just every time I see it, I just chuckle to myself. I'm like. This guy is
he's the psycho that you're glad he's on your side, right?
Oh, dude. Killer mentality. I am ready. So before we move on to Scherzer, I will say my MVP is Buck. Yeah. We haven't had a fucking manager that was worth his weight since Terry. Mm-hmm. And even at the end, Terry you could tell Terry kind of lost the team and they got the Wilpons. It was like just a bad mix and match of everything. But, we replaced him with all this slop until Buck, and now we got an adult in the room. He's got them focused on goals, and they're fundamentally strong. So I think that guy was easily his WAR is 3.
Yeah, he's definitely winning NL Manager of the Year. Like there's no doubt, he's already won it in my book.
My favorite's whenever they get hit, and just his glare, and even with the sunglasses on, what that look is looking like.
I mean, the second game of the year, he's out trying to fight the Nationals. Like. Dude, that means such a statement. Second game of the year of like, all right, this guy's got our back, and like, we're gonna play for this guy.
Yep. Scott, you just stole my thunder. You get your two best guys get hit in the head, right? And you come out and you're the one. You weren't the guy. You weren't like coming out second. Like you led the fucking charge out of that dugout, and you went for it, right? And whatever he did, he showed his team like, you guys, I will go to war with you every day. And I got your back no matter what. As long as you do what you hold up your end of the bargain, I'll hold up my end of the bargain. And that just created created this respect where like you see him at like you watch the game when they end, right? And like the outfielders go and like pose for the camera and shake their hands, and then they all walk in and they're all fucking with Buck. They're like trying to pull his shirt out of his pants and just giving him a hard time. And you could tell they genuinely like him.
He's their dad. He's their dad, man.
Yeah.
By the way, William Nathaniel Showalter.
William Nathaniel. I love it. That's if I have a boy, his middle name's going to be Nathaniel. Not unrelated, but great.
Love it.
Oh man.
I agree.
Well, yeah, and so talking about Scherzer and going into the playoffs, and then we'll end on this piece here. Going to war with Scherzer and DeGrom. I am like fucking. I feel like that clip of Scherzer, like "fuck you, motherfucker, fuck you." Like, let's go. I don't care who you like. Bring on the Dodgers. You know, bring on. I don't care that the Padres traded for Soto. Bring on the Padres. Like, beat that 1-2 punch. If you can take two from those two guys back to back, then you deserve to beat us, and we deserve to go home. But I like my chances every time. How do you guys feel?
I'm not scared of any NL team. There's only one team right now, and that's the Astros. Obviously, we couldn't do shit. I'm not scared of the Yankees. Not scared of the Phillies, and any of the NL.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I got a gift card to MLB.com. I'm just waiting to use it when we get those World Series champion sweatshirts.
Just stay healthy.
I love it. I love it.
In a typical year, I would give you some shit and be like, don't say it. No, this is a special year.
That's how I feel.
And 1-2, Jake and Max, you guys both played. What's it like when you're like, oh God, we got to face these, we got to face this guy who's like unhittable. Like there's a vibe on the bench, right? Where it's like, shit, man, like we got to try to grind something out here, but like you're in trouble, right? When you're facing.
Well, it's like the mindset is like Max goes game 1, you lose like 3-0, 3-1, and then you're like, okay, well, let's get the next guy tomorrow, and then it's fucking Jacob deGrom. You're like, and then after DeGrom, it's like now we got Bassett, and it's like it just never ends. Like Greg said, I'm not really afraid of anybody. Even the Astros, like they didn't have DeGrom when they faced them. I don't even think Scherzer was even. I think he was still injured at the time, and we threw like dog shit pitchers out there against them. I'm really not afraid of anybody.
And it was also a stupid 2-game home and home, overlapping a week. It was a poor scheduling. But I will say, Greg, I agree with you. The Astros are the only team that actually make me a little scared. The Dodgers, I think, are going to give us a run for our money, but I still like our chances. Yep. So, and we just showed the Braves and we showed the Yankees that they ain't shit. So let's bring it on.
And the Phillies.
I love it. Well, guys, thank you so much.
And the Phillies.
What's
this
that?
Weekend.
Let's go this weekend. Let's go Mets. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. We're calling a sweep. Dougie, what do you got to say to the audience?
But before I say it, thank you guys so much for joining.
Thank you for having us.
This was awesome. And Vio con Diaz, thank God nobody died this week. So we're gonna go with Lindor haters. I think they finally need to shut the fuck up.
I love it. I love it.
Vio con Diaz.
LSGM, let's go.
Vio con Diaz. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, audience. Until next time.
Produced by Heartcast Media.